Granblue Fantasy Relink is launching with a roster of 20 characters, all of them with unique skills and different mechanics, and in today's video I want to go through all of the different characters, tell you what each of them do, so that you can decide for yourself which one best fits your playstyle, so you know where to spend your unlocked tickets first. With that being said, hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero and let's get started. And let's begin with Gran and Jita. These are the two playable main characters in Granblue Fantasy Relink, and at the start of the game you'll be choosing which one you want to play, with the only real difference being purely cosmetic. Also referred to as the Captain, their playstyle is comprised as a mix of quick slashes and charged attacks, and their arsenal includes various support skills, letting them heal the party or give them various buffs, although you can take a much more offensive approach by getting rid of those skills. It's the perfect beginner character that gives you a very strong and competent kit for pretty much everything in the game, likely being the most flexible unit in the entire game, so think of Gran and Jita as a jack of all trades but a master of none. Next is Catalina the Knight, who once swore an oath of knighthood to the Earth Empire, but those days are long behind her. Her knightly duty continues, though now in the service of protecting Lyria. Catalina is a very well-rounded character that, despite being quite simple, is actually quite strong. Wielding a magic sword, she is an adept warrior who can adapt to any situation, being able to perform various fast combos with her powerful jabs, and by performing these combos she will be filling up her Ares gauge. Once that gauge is full, Catalina will be able to summon her primal beast Ares, which will further bolster her combo skills and skybound art, allowing her to become much more powerful. Her skills involve being able to launch charged projectiles from a distance, parry incoming attacks and heal nearby allies, so once again a very well-rounded character that can provide a lot of value to a team. The next character on the list is Rackham, the helmsman of the airship. He plays the role of a ranged DPS character, using his two guns to cover allies at both long and close range. Rackham's core gameplay is all about filling up his heat gauge by firing his primary weapon, which you can fire in 3-shot bursts or in full auto. Once that heat gauge is filled up, you'll be able to unleash devastating attacks, and you'll be able to deal more damage that way. His skills also offer a variety of party-wide utility, from buffs that increase the damage of your team, to having a continuous dodging maneuver, though most likely this character is going to excel at dealing damage from a distance and applying debuffs to their enemies. Next on the list we have Io, the young mage that is eager to showcase her impressive talent. This character is all about applying buffs to her allies, debuffing the enemies, and being a control mage that can deal damage from a distance, stunlock the enemies, and make the overall combat be much smoother for the entire party. So depending on what skills you pick on Io, you can be either a supportive mage that focuses on healing and buffing the team, you can apply debuffs to the enemy with various spell effects, or simply focus on raw damage, though it's likely that other characters may be better at this job than her. Next we have Eugene, a veteran Skyfarer whose combat prowess is rivaled only by his regret. This character offers a more varied playstyle, being able to use his long-range weapon to fire powerful blasts at the enemies, dealing critical damage to bosses, or opt for some AoE damage by throwing grenades or firing his laser beam. That being said, Eugene can also go into close-range combat, letting go of his weapon and simply attacking monsters with his fists. So if you are someone that likes a character that can play from a distance but also likes to get up close to deal damage, then Eugene may be the character for you. Up next we have Rosetta, a bystander whose roots are firmly planted in both the past and the present. She is a close to medium range mage that is able to use her roots and her various spells to deal damage to enemies, apply debuffs in a wide area, and she's even able to place plants on the ground that are able to heal their allies. She excels at a medium range, not having very high range spells, nor having good defensive capabilities, but she is able to dash out of dangerous situations and keep up with the aggression. So if you like a control mage that is able to also provide some helpful support to your party, Rosetta may be the character for you. Next we have Lancelot, captain of the Knightly Order of the White Dragons. Lancelot may just be the fastest attacker in all of Granblue Fantasy Relink, Wielding his icy dual blades, he is able to cut down through enemies with dazzling skill and speed. Lancelot is able to continuously attack in place for as long as you keep on mashing the attack button, and you're able to finish the combo with a powerful finisher at any time. Lancelot is all about mobility, as he is able to dash around the battlefield all the while attacking, meaning that you can keep on pressuring the enemies at all times. He's also able to charge at enemies from a long distance, and on the other hand, he can also engage in long-range distance combat by throwing icy projectiles. That being said, Lancelot is not all about offense. He can also provide additional value to his team by casting an ice trap that freezes the enemies for as long as you hold the skill, giving your team a big window of opportunity to dish out damage. So if you like an agile character, Lancelot might be perfect for you. Up next is Vayne. As a Knight of Valor, he is all about playing the role of the tank, protecting his teammates, and providing buffs to the rest of the party. Vayne can unleash very powerful blows with his giant axe that is capable of crumbling multiple enemies at once. That being said, he's also got some skills that allow him to dish out multiple hits in an instant, but when it comes to being a tank, that is where this character shines, being able to place down a defensive field that can protect himself and the rest of the party. So if you are looking for a character that is beefy and a bruiser, but can also go all out on offense, then Vayne may be the character for you. The next character on the list is Percival. Percival is a heavier character that is all about unleashing his powerful blows by charging up his attacks, providing damage buffs to his allies, and unleashing his devastating flames upon the enemies. He's also able to attack enemies from a medium distance with his projectiles, which again are more focused on dealing damage and covering wide areas than attacking from a long distance. If you like charging up your attacks, big AoE damage, or just fire in general, then Percival may be the character for you. The next character on the list is Siegfried. A powerful knight with the blood of a dragon, he's able to swing his giant greatsword to cleave enemies and hit some of the most powerful attacks in the entire game. Siegfried is all about perfect timing his attacks. They're very slow, but whenever you see the character shine, you can press the attack button at the right time, and if you do so, you'll be able to extend the combo and then follow it up by unleashing a very powerful finisher. On top of that, Siegfried can aid his allies by increasing their attack and defense, as well as provide them with health regen, and despite how slow he may seem, having the ability to launch from a distance to enemies, or attack them from a distance with his ranged projectile, allows Siegfried to be a very powerful character that is always present on the battlefield. Up next we have Charlotta, one of the few small characters that is all about unleashing very fast attacks, launching at enemies from a distance, and keep up with the aggression with her flurry of slashes that get stronger the longer she sustains them. Her short-ranged attacks may seem like a problem at first, but given her ability to quickly lunge at the enemies while applying debuffs on them, being able to increase the entire party's damage, and jumping into the air to unleash ranged attacks, makes Charlotta a pretty well-rounded offensive character that should definitely not be underestimated. And as if that wasn't enough, she's also able to provide a shield to herself as well as her allies, which reduces damage taken for a certain period, making her that much more valuable to the team. Up next we have Yodarha, a once renowned swordsman with many disciples. Just like with Charlotta, he's all about rushing the enemy with an incredible offense, this time with two swords that allow him to perform high-speed combos and counters. Yodarha's unique mechanic allows him to, after finishing a combo, unleash a powerful finisher that becomes stronger the more skills you use, allowing him to become a very powerful character, especially in the hands of someone that knows how to use their skills well. With his aerial barrage and lunges, as well as the ability to quickly close the gap between him and any monster that opposes him, as well as the ability to create a mirror image, which allows him to nullify damage for a set number of hits, makes him a very powerful offensive character that is certainly going to be appealing for a lot of players. Next on the list we have the fan favorite Narmaya. Narmaya is a blade master that is all about combining her martial arts with magic to create powerful blade techniques. Narmaya uses two different stances while in combat that you can freely switch between at any moment, with the Free Flutter stance being all about performing fast combos and the Dawnfly stance being all about charging powerful attacks that can hit from pretty wide ranges. Successfully performing combos and swapping between these stances will enhance Narmaya's combat abilities, making her that much more powerful of a character in this game if you are adept at mastering her stance technique. She's also able to attack enemies from a distance with ranged projectiles, all the while dodging attacks, and can quickly close the gap between her and any enemy, so she is certainly a menace in this game. Up next is Zeta. Known as the Crimson Spear, she belongs to an organization which hunts primal beasts. Zeta's playstyle is all about leaping into the air and performing aerial combos, at which point you'll be able to bounce off the enemies by perfectly timing your inputs so you can keep up with the aggression while in the air and then unleash a devastating finisher whenever you see an opening. Additionally, Zeta is also able to counter enemy attacks, which will also launch her into the air to once again perform said aerial combos. That being said, Zeta is not entirely about aerial combat. She's also able to launch ranged projectiles, as well as perform big dashes that allow her to traverse the battlefield in an instant. So if you like a character that can control the skies and keep attacking non-stop as long as you hit the buttons at the right time, then Zeta is the character for you. Up next is Vazaraga, one of the heavier characters of Granblue Fantasy Relink. He is able to intimidate his foes with his huge attacks that give him armor and an impressive damage output. His weapon allows him to cleave through enemies like it's no one's business, and his deceptively long reach makes up for his lack of mobility. On top of that, Vazaraga is able to charge up some devastating blows and engulf enemies in big AoEs, making him that much more of a threat on the battlefield. So if you are all about dealing as much damage as possible, unleashing powerful attacks with a strong and beefy character, then Vazaraga may be the character for you. Next on the list is Fairy, a character that, having already died, she is now able to traverse the world as a ghost. Fairy excels at medium-range combat, being able to use her whip to attack multiple enemies at once, all the while using her ghosts to perform various sorts of attacks, from inflicting debuffs on enemies, healing allies, or dealing devastating blows from a distance. Her whip also allows her to hit a lot of enemies at once, making her a fantastic character for AoE damage. So if you're looking for a summoner type character that excels at medium range, then Fairy might be the perfect choice for you. Up next is Gandagoza, the founder of the Eternal Rage style. He is a slow and beefy melee combatant that is all about using his martial arts to deal damage. By repeatedly attacking, he is able to perform combos, and by completing said combos, he will be able to raise his Eternal Gauge. Once charged, Gandagoza can unleash his Eternal Rage by charging up an attack that will deal incredible amounts of damage, pulverizing any enemies that it may hit. On top of that, Gandagoza can provide offensive buffs to your party, as well as apply some debuffs through his AoE damage. So if you're looking for a slower and heavier character that can counter and unleash devastating damage by charging up his gauge, then Gandagoza is going to be perfect for you. Lastly, we have Cagliostro, a brilliant mage who founded the alchemy in the Sky Realm. Cagliostro is all about setting up traps and utilizing her projectiles to deal damage to the enemies, all the while being able to teleport and apply debuffs. Her setups may be a little bit tricky, but combining her artillery type playstyle with all of her setups will allow you to unleash devastating combos and give big windows for you and the rest of your party to deal damage. So if you like a character that is a little bit more crafty, that requires some thought and setup for it to be successful, then Cagliostro is the character for you. These are all the characters we're going to be having in Granblue Fantasy Relink. I'll be making in-depth videos and guides on this game, as I will be playing through the early access and I may even be live right now. So if you have any questions, drop by my livestream and feel free to ask anything. Thank you very much for watching, my name is Dark Hero, and as always, happy hunting!